Hello guys, here we are back again in the studio. So we're gonna just keep continuing on with the skull. I plan on I'm gonna do, let's see, about probably in an hour and a half more on this drawing. So I'm gonna do a 30-minute session here, and then two other 30-minute sessions. And then after that, I'm going to be working on a personal project of mine. I maybe live stream that on Instagram, or I might post a video on here. I'm not sure yet. Or I might just kind of take a rest from doing videos today and just work on that in by myself. But yeah, let's get back to this skull drawing here. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue to go from kind of where we went off last time. Just continually, I'm just basically working in shadow and light and slowly correcting the drawing. So I feel like this can be corrected a bit. This super ciliary bone here. Really finding that shape better. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil. It's always good to start with a sharp pencil. Gives you more accuracy. I'm using the side of the pencil as opposed to the point, just produces a better, smoother value. Covers more ground. So there's that. Just kind of step back and really observe this thing and the skull and how it's moving forward. Improvements that we can make. Chipping away at it slowly. Really trying to get this to really feel like it's curling under. This eye socket starting to go back into space. So it's kind of turning and going inward, and then it's coming back out, and it's going cheekbones facing inward. So I'm kind of putting this, start hatching in this darker value so I can really get this strong dark against that light, and that's going to really help accentuate that form of that eye socket there. As you can see, that just made a subtle change, but pretty important one. And then I'm gonna just smooth that out a bit, quiet it down, get rid of some of that graininess. And it's starting to slowly get put together here. Maybe we can work, it's like this chin, this this mouth area could be worked on a little bit here. Really want to kind of find where this chin is at and gain more clarity on that end. Trying to get a sense of the tooth cylinder or that muzzle kind of coming in kind of box like, kind of feeling that plane going this way and then turning to another plane that way, so we get that there, sort of feeling it out. Really getting this as a nice, rich, matte, flat black value in here to get that contrast and difference from the jaw and the tooth cylinder coming through there. Another thing maybe we can do is start to indicate a dark area shape of that jaw, that hollow inside that jaw that separates those two little these parts right here, that little hollow within the jaw is what I'm talking about. And just sharpening that up a bit. And then there's also this kind of change in angle around the jaw right here, kind of squares off, and then it kind of nudges out a little bit there. So now it's a little bit better there. So it's it's getting there. Like I said, it's a process here. Another thing we can really get at, I feel like, is getting where this. I really want to make sure that this socket, this I guess you could call them the wings of the eye socket that kind of stick out like these two almost triangular shapes, make these kind of stick out a little bit more. I want this part to come forward and this side plane of the temporalis to recede to give us a bit more depth. And also really try and redefine any kind of start to get a little bit tighter with these this temporalis line, really kind of not draw an outline, but certain areas kind of sharpen up and then sort of letting them sort of lose some of the edges and areas. Just need appears I left my water in my house, so I can't take a drink right now. But we'll just keep continuing with this. What I'm kind of contemplating is if maybe that nasal passage, this little part of the nasal top portion of that, this part right here, can probably get a little bit steep, could push out this way a bit more, kind of come forward. So I'm going to kind of change that trajectory a little bit. It kind of starts like this and then comes like that. It's a very subtle, it's quite subtle shift, but it's there. Yeah, I really want to try to find this cheekbone here, sort of putting in a slightly darker value than this. So I'm kind of still, I'm just kind of maybe using another value in the shadow, but I'm still kind of keeping it relatively close to the general shadow. Not trying to separate the shadow any more than maybe 2 values, because you want to kind of keep the shadow a bit simpler. And the light is going to be where you're mostly you're going to get more complexity with the values and more values than you will in the shadow. And you'll definitely this won't be your first skull drawing, so just kind of note that and expect to be doing like a lot of these, and that you're gonna kind of get better each time you approach a subject that you've done before, but you'll kind of start to gain like mastery over what you're drawing, and you'll know where certain value changes happen in the subject. And you'll really learn a lot from kind of doing something very over and over, very repetitively. As you can see, I'm really getting this nice and dark, sort of pushing in that graphite. I'm kind of going a little bit harder on the pressure, but also trying not to damage the tooth of the paper. Um, So as you can see, like I was saying about doing multiple drawings of the skull and constantly refining, you're always going to be kind of refining, adjusting, and changing your approach as well to drawing and painting, whatever endeavors you pursue in the art training as an artist. So you can see I've done, I have a front view there. I have this 3/4 view right here. Front view, 3/4, and then this guy right here, and you can kind of see, they're both in the same view, but you can see that they're, there's an improvement I feel like happening in this one. And it depends, how much time you allow yourself to. Sometimes you kind of get a better result if you work faster. Some people need more time. Some people need to kind of be not rushed, but a little bit pushed, nudged along. That would probably sort of be me. I tend to spend a little bit too much longer in the kind of drawing approach than maybe is needed, which isn't a bad thing. You'll kind of know what you need by just listening to your, intuition, body response. So yeah, it doesn't feel, you get to these points in the drawing where it almost feels like there's not a lot happening or not a lot going on, and you're kind of just feel stuck. And I'd say I feel kind of like that now, but you have to remember that this is the kind of ditch digging stage, as I've heard it said before by some great person. Can't really remember their name, but yeah, this is kind of like the ditch digging part where you're still building the structure, and it's going to take a lot more labor, and it's not about making all these little nuanced things quite at this stage. It's more about the big broad picture of things, and so sometimes people get kind of a little discouraged at this point, as I tend to do a lot of times. But you just kind of have to really, again, have patience. I mean, I'm gonna keep saying that because I need to hear it, and you guys need to hear it as well. Patience is everything, and just being consistent and keep going with it. And it really does help, I find, to teach this stuff, because it helps me stay on track, rather than if I was just drawing by myself on my own, I would not have that kind of pressure. So it sometimes is good to put a little bit of pressure on yourself, but also not too much, because it can be damaging to your confidence and it's tricky. Us artists tend to be on the sensitive side, so you have to approach it in a gentle and curious way when you're doing these challenging subjects, which is a skull. It's very takes a lot of brain power to do what we're doing here. It's not easy stuff at all. So we're about at the 20-minute mark. I'm gonna try to push this to about half an hour. But as you can see, it's slowly taking shape, taking form, and I'm just gonna kind of, for these last 10 minutes, maybe just hone in on this cheekbone area here, and maybe go a bit silent at times, maybe even the whole time, because it's just I can only talk so much and draw at the same time with being accurate enough to assess the drawing. Right here, I'm working on getting these teeth to feel like one is kind of coming forward. Well, the whole mouth section here is I want it to, basically it lines up. If you put a diagonal here, it should sort of come out to there, and so it really comes out quite far. So I want to really state that, and I want to make sure that the top row of teeth overlap slightly this bottom row, because that's what I'm seeing up there, a slight overbite on this skeleton. Yeah. Sorry if trying to make sure that the drawing is in sight for you guys, and my head isn't blocking it. Sometimes I lose track of where I am in terms of the video, so apologize for that. If you guys are having issues with that, let me know. I'll try to fix it, adjust it. gonna try to sort of use a sort of a false value here, and kind of draw with this pen eraser and kind of use this false value to sort of get the shape of the cheekbone in there more correct. So it's going to kind of cause a bit of a shock to the drawing and slightly throw it off because of the false value. So don't get too upset about that. It's just kind of part of it coming together. You just kind of have to sort of deconstruct a little bit, reconstruct, and you kind of get it back into place. Start to get these values to kind of soften up a bit. Try to follow along sort of the form of the skull as I'm blocking this in. Noticing that this kind of comes up a bit. Sort of forms that. Sort of start to soften this edge as it meets the background here. Come back in on there and continue to sort of really soften that out, but also maintain a firm edge on this where this eye socket comes in. So I'm kind of I'm looking at my screen, so my camera's right behind me. I'm looking at that to since I'm not really able to step back because of the setup I have here. I kind of look into the iPad that I'm filming this on, and I can kind of evaluate it in that way. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I kind of noticed I had this kind of I didn't notice that the shadow actually sort of comes up this way a little bit more. So I sort of blocked that in as I was smoothing the other values out, and it's sort of important there. So that's kind of nice graphic element, nice shape design there. Sort of going over this again with just the pencil, kind of get it a little bit in the middle where it's a little bit crisp but a little bit soft. I don't like to have it too soft where it's too fuzzy. It's kind of not as pleasing of an aesthetic. So I think what we can do is actually push. I really want to get that background pretty dark, actually. So it really punches that skull forward. So I'm probably gonna in the next session go back to that background value and kind of push that even further and get a nice solid even coat on that background so that we really get that skull kind of emerging from this piece of paper and really get that dimension and atmosphere there. Alright, so that's going to be the end of this half-hour session. Going to continue with another one after this, so stay tuned and subscribe if you want, comment, it's all free, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, it's a little shaky there.